Welcome. It is so great to see you here. It's great to be with you today. And again, thank you guys so much for having me. It's time for another Zoom class. It's amazing that we're still here. How many of you guys, please use the chat, are getting comfortable to teaching online, getting comfortable to teaching on Zoom? I'm curious. Again, using the chat, let us know, what have you been teaching on? Have you been teaching on Teams, on Zoom, on Google Meet, on something else? Today's going to be a little different because not only are we here to learn from each other, but we're in that position of being both teachers and students. So I want to ask the questions, does today seem any different to you? Does the fact that it's now spring seem any different for you? And does the fact that we've been here for a year seem any different for you? Now, I want to take a quick poll. So hands over on your buzzers, hands over on the chat box here. How many of you guys are going to wake up on Monday and drive to your school buildings? If you are, please put the letter A in the chat. How many of you guys are going to have students in front of you physically? You can hit A and hit B. If you are somebody who is going to have their entire class in front of them, let us know by typing in the chat letter C. And if you're still teaching from home, please put in D. So you can, in the chat, put down A, B, A, C, A, whatever. Let us know, put as many letters as you want. What will Monday look like to you guys? I'm curious to see where we all are because we're coming to each other today from across the country. And I know these seem like silly questions. Where are you going to be teaching from tomorrow? But here we are 1 year later. It's been a long year, hasn't it? So again, I want to say thank you to Raquel, thank you to the METECH team, and thank you to everybody here for joining us. The funny thing about today is I wasn't supposed to be here today. I was thinking about this as we were putting the slides together, and I was trying to come up with what do you talk about? Here we are, we're virtual. Putting today's presentations together, I wasn't supposed to be here today. Somebody else was. We were supposed to be here last year. I even went back and I found my notes for what we were supposed to talk about last year. We were supposed to be live. We were supposed to be in the auditorium of the beautiful school. And I was supposed to ask you to look to your left and look to your right and introduce yourself to somebody. I was supposed to ask you to stand up and take a moment and introduce the person next to you, kind of an icebreaker. We were going to talk about what if. We were going to talk about this concept of what if you could actually take education and change it on its head, turn it upside down, do something a little different with education. And, looking back, who knew that in only a few short hours from when the conference was supposed to start, that we actually were supposed to be answering that question. We were actually going to be changing the way education was, the way education would be, and the way education is. So let's take a moment here to look back, because right now you guys are sitting in your living rooms and I'm sitting in my studio, and my 7-year-old triplets are on the other side of the house. I hear them giggling at me as I go through this conversation with you guys. Kind of makes you wonder what's happened in the last year. If you want to think back a little bit about what's happened in the last 12 months, I want to ask you this question. What have you done? What have you done with your classes? What have you done with your students? How have you changed the way you've been an educator? How have you changed the way you're approaching working with your students? What does your world look like today, maybe based on the last 12 months? How many of you guys took a leap? Small leap, medium leap, giant leap? What's happened to you in the last 12 months? I can think back to the summer of 2019, and I was looking for something new to do with my life. I was just finishing up almost 20 years of being an educator in New Jersey, 15 years as a music teacher, 4 years as an instructional technology specialist in a K-12 school in North Jersey. And things for us were changing. My employment down there was coming to an end. I didn't know what was in front of me. My wife was looking to get back into education, but our backgrounds were primarily in music, and in North Jersey, there aren't orchestras. not a lot of options. The kids going into kindergarten, going into that kind of area, we were looking for something to do. But as I was looking for a new adventure for myself, we went through that first round of interviews and didn't work. It's kind of getting nervous, kind of getting scared. In fact, I was actually starting to panic. It was around July that a friend of mine, Rob, called me up and said, you know what? I've got something for you. I have a friend who wants to meet you. He's a principal in a middle school, and he's actually creating a technology course for his middle school, and he's creating a broadcasting course for his middle school. And I think you'd be really good for it. And oh, by the way, he also has a tech coaching position in his building. You'd be perfect for this. And I thought to myself, my goodness, where do I sign up? How quickly can I meet this guy? So I drove to the school, had a conversation with him, took a tour. We started talking about different ideas, things that we can do together. How do we want the broadcasting course to be? I mean, literally, this was a position that was near and dear to my heart and really the next step for me. After the tour, he shook my hand, offered me the job on the spot, and I was so excited. I had a job, I had a plan, I had something that I can go back to my family and say, look, we have an idea. There was only one problem. We were living in North Jersey, and the job happened to be in Norwalk, Connecticut. 80 miles away and over the Tappan Zee Bridge twice. And this is generally what the Tappan Zee Bridge looks like. If you've ever been over the Tappan Zee Bridge, this is pretty much what it looked like. It was 80 miles one way and 3-hour drive home. But you know what? We did it. We had a good time, and we did it all last year. But really, I don't want to stop here and talk about myself this entire time. It's not about me. Today really is about you guys. Today is about all of the students that we have opportunities to work with, interact with, and it's about our students, which is why we're here today, to learn how to be inspiring to our students. They come to us every single day, not looking to learn tech. They come to us looking to learn how to be inspired. Now, they may be physically in our classrooms or they may be virtually in our classrooms, but nonetheless, they want to be inspired. So I had a couple of decisions to make. How was I going to create these courses? I've taught K to 12 as an orchestra teacher, but never really in a classroom before. So to say, I had no materials. Literally, we walked into the classroom and there was just stuff all over the floor from the year before. The teacher just kind of left. And I had to put together some ideas. So I went into my EdTech bag of tricks. I went into my EdCamp archives of all the different presentations, and we came up with something that was pretty cool. We started the year both in technology and broadcasting, doing the same thing I was going to ask you to do. I had them do an introduction activity. Stand up and introduce your partner. I figured that was a good icebreaker. But slowly, it was a transformation. You see, these kids were not used to what was going on in the class. We took these students, and instead of teaching them technology, we actually turned the technology course into a marketing course. We actually took the Google skills that you would think of being on a Google level 1 test or level 2 test. I took all those things that we do for our certifications, and we created a middle school level technology marketing class. We used Google Sites as a template. Every student got a template, and we use this as a website builder. So from right off the bat, they were learning web design, they were learning marketing, they were learning about digital citizenship, building a digital footprint, and we took these Google Sites templates and we turned them into something pretty awesome for our students. You can see here, this is a typical landing page that you might have on your website. Who are you? What you're interested in? Who is? We had the students write their biography about themselves, and it very quickly turned into a class that they weren't used to. You notice up on the top left is a little planet. That's not a graphic you're going to find on any Google image search. That's actually a custom logo that we had the students create. We had them talk about what their interests were, what they liked, what really inspired them. And from there, we use Google Slides and Google Drawings to create logos. I love these examples because these aren't just homework assignments. These are really creative NFTs, if you will, at this point for our students. I love the one up here on the top left. It's a gold circle with a G. I asked the kid, what does this mean? What does this mean to you? And he says, well, my name is Gabriel and I really like playing Super Mario Brothers. So I created a Gabriel coin. I thought that was pretty cool. The one on the bottom right, the 7, I said, what does this mean? He says, well, I'm on a baseball team. Our colors are red and blue and my number is 7. And I like the Houston Astros. So that's really, really neat. So we started to take these little Google skills and not teach them Google technologies. We started using them as tools to enhance their excitement and tools to excite their learning. Then we kicked it up a notch. We said, what happens if you were the leader of a building? What happens if you guys were the leaders of schools? What would you do? So we came up with this project called West Rocks 2.0 for West Rocks Middle School, where we worked. We had them look at our vision statements. We had them create a vision statement. We brought in our missions and vision statements from school districts all across Fairfield County, and they each had an opportunity to create their own mission and vision. We then asked them to create a curriculum. If you could come up with 4 or 5 classes that you want to take, what would they be? And we taught them how to make course descriptions. We then took that a step farther. And not only are they learning how to put all this stuff on a website, learning how to use Google Sites, how to use Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, but we took that into a step further. We showed them how to do tables. On the left side here, we took one of those courses they made the descriptions on, and we had them create a budget. And it was really neat to go through this with them because some of them said, I want to create an esports class. Well, great. What do you need for that? Well, I need video games. I need controllers. I need computers. I need surge protectors. I need an esports stadium. And I said, great. Add all that stuff up and make me a budget. We then went to the right side of the screen here where they had to put it into a district spreadsheet. So you can see here, they were learning about how much does it cost to run a district? What's the numbers? How many students? We learned all this. They put all the formulas in together. So as you can see, I wasn't teaching them formulas. I was teaching them real world, authentic learning experiences here using the Google skills based off of the certifications that you and I take each and every day. And really what it came out to being here is, could they run with this? We then said, well, if you need to create an esports stadium, what would that look like? Where would that be? So we used Google Sheets and we created a coloring book, if you will, using conditional formatting. You can see on the right, it's the actual blueprint map of our school. And on the left, this is actually what a group of students came up with in about 20 minutes of time. They learned how to do the conditional formatting where a number equals a color. And next thing you know, they were creating their buildings. They were experiencing what it was like to be an architect. And at the end of the course, which is a quarter course, they actually were able to create an entire school district plan for themselves. It was pretty cool. It was pretty awesome. That was our technology class. In our broadcasting class, we did things a little different. We didn't have very much other than this idea that we want to go live. We want to create morning announcements. That was kind of the arrangement that we had when I got hired, was we want to do live morning announcements. Now, I'm going to hit the play button. I hope this works. If you're on your phone, you also can hit the play button. This is what our morning announcements started looking like in the middle of our school.
Good morning, West Rocks. My name is broadcasting live from just outside of Arendelle. Today is Monday, March 9th, 2020, and it is the B-Day with Beta House eating first during the lunch block. The weather here in Arendelle is, well, it's pretty cold. And now it's cold for today's Panther News.
Attention National Junior High.
It's pretty cool, isn't it? We did this live It took us a little bit of time to get together, and I'm going to show you in a few seconds here how the background looked and how this actually happened. I'm kind of getting a little teary-eyed at this because this was actually the last broadcast that we did before we left. And so there's a lot of good stuff that happened in here. And I hope you have a chance to take a look at the whole thing as we go through.
Honor Society.
So we had some fun with these classes, but I want to take a quick shift here because today isn't about us, it's about them. This was the story from my point of view. I want to take a look at the story from our students' point of view. Our students came into school that year not knowing what to expect. They had a new teacher, and on their schedule it said technology class. Now, some of these students actually had a technology class before, and when they first walked in, they thought we were going to do paper airplanes and models and STEM activities, and they actually had a working car engine project. It was kind of neat, but not the direction the school wanted to go in. And they needed to know who I was, what I was doing, and who is this strange guy that literally we were in the hallway singing Broadway show tunes. It was one of my things that I like to do is in order to get the kids to move around the hallways, I would stand behind them and start singing Oklahoma. It was really, really fun. They came in, they met somebody new, and they noticed right up the bat, the class was a little different. We started to turn the class into something that was special. It wasn't about the technology. Much like everybody, we had Chromebooks and we had internet, but what we had was interesting assignments, many of which they had never tried before. Here you can see they're starting to use the Google Sheets for building hearts. They're starting to use Google Slides here for doing the weather, okay? And it wasn't the assignments, it wasn't the teacher, and it certainly wasn't my bad jokes. So what was it? Now, I want to take another quick pause here and let me ask you guys. Think about a time when you were not in the role of a teacher or a leader. In fact, I don't want you guys to think right now about education at all. Think about something that you really wanted to do. Think about something that you maybe did alone or something that you planned out and did with your family. What are you thinking about? What would you like to do? Let us know in the comments. Suppose I asked you guys what your last vacation looked like. You guys remember your last vacation? Was it a spur of the moment decision? Did you take time to research it? Did you plan it out? Did you put everything on an agenda? Did you plan your vacation moment by moment, or did you just show up and turn your brain off for the next couple days? What was that vacation like for you, for the others that are in your family, and for those who are with you? How did you share the moments with yourself, with others? Now, looking back, I bet you probably can't remember your vacation from beginning to end. It's probably just a moment by moment thing, a bunch of snapshots, as you will. Let's take another example. How many of you guys remember the last time you bought a car? Do you remember what it was like? Do you remember test driving it? Do you remember thinking about buying the car? Do you remember what car you ultimately came home with? Now, it turns out that there's several milestones in the life of somebody that always get grouped together. You guys know what those are? Well, change of career, change of location, and change of vehicle. Now, I know those things go together because while I was buying my car, I was telling him about my new job and the fact that my family just moved up to Connecticut. And he said, "Oh, you've now done the hat trick of financials." But each of these things has a definable customer experience. For each of these things, there's 3 stages that every purchaser or every customer go to. There's the anticipation, thinking about what car you're going to buy, thinking about how much you can't wait to buy a new car, or how much you're not looking forward to buying a new car, thinking about everywhere you'd like to be, maybe except in that dealership buying a new car. You have excitement for the unknown, but maybe you're not quite sure what you're going to get. I don't know about you guys. I'm this type of person. I actually bought the same car 4 times in a row. I had a Prius. I didn't like buying cars. I just bought another Prius, bought another Prius. I do the same thing with shoes. I'll just go out and I'll buy the same pair of shoes instead of shopping. It's the anticipation of what's going to be happening. Next is the experience of going to the dealership, finding somebody to talk to, haggling back and forth with that salesperson, figuring out what you're going to do and how you're going to negotiate for the best price, and that experience of driving it off the lot for the first time. And then finally, it's that retrospective. What did the process look like to you? How did my experience today relate to what I thought my experience was? Would I work with the same salesperson? And most importantly, would I recommend this experience to somebody else who I know? You see, no matter if it's a vacation or a car, we all go through these same things. The difference is you don't take your vacations home. You have to live with your car. But we always have the same feeling about these two experiences. We always look for that warm and fuzzy. Now, no matter what, if you're buying a car, if you're going into your vacation, there's always three things. There's that beginning, middle, and end. What's the process going to look like? What am I looking forward to? What's happening in the middle? And then there's always that reflection. I promise you, it's never flat, right? Your vacation's never flat. Even if you go to Disney World, there's always highs of doing the rides, and there's always lows of waiting in line. Vacation's the same thing. You get to go out on these great adventures, and then you have the dips. But our goal for both of these things is to make sure that we have as many highs as possible, so that way we want to experience those things again. So where does that leave our students? Why are we talking about all this today? Well, as our students are coming back to our schools, as our students are making their transitions back into our school buildings, they have these same ideas. What is school going to look like? What's school going to look like if I'm hybrid? Am I the only one going back into my school? Are my friends going back into school? And as you guys know, it's different. It's difficult. It's difficult for us as teachers, and it's difficult as families and students to come back into our classroom. It's harder to do that now than ever. We have health considerations. We have more options in front of us, where to teach, when to teach, how to teach. And it's harder because no matter how many conferences and keynotes you attend, the truth is that honestly, nobody has the right answers. If I took another poll here and said, what does your classroom look like? We're going to get 230 different answers. But I think we can agree on one thing. We are doing this because we're here for our students, and we're doing this to give them the best opportunities and the best experiences. It's about having our students come in every single day filled with that anticipation of what's going to be happening in their school and making sure that they can't wait to see you. It's the anticipation of having our kids coming into our classrooms to test drive the latest and greatest and having them share their thoughts and feelings with you guys and giving them those experiences that are real world and authentic. It's all about the experiences. Now, of course, the big problem today is that there are so many big problems that we have in education. There's more technology now than ever. We have so many things that we want to do. Now, if I asked you to give me a lesson today on presentations, you might talk to me about Google Slides, PowerPoints, haiku decks, Prezis, Canva. There's so much technology out there. But today, I want to urge you guys, don't necessarily focus on the tech. Focus on how you can bring these experiences into your classrooms. Focus on how you can leverage the technologies to help your students, help your students tell their stories. We did that in West Rocks by having them create a website that talks about themselves, putting a logo up there, creating a resume, putting a bio, and giving them an authentic project. What are you guys going to walk away from today, bringing back into your schools for your students? What is the motivation that they're going to have to come back and really, really enjoy and have a good time with it? I bet my middle school students never once said, hey, Mom, I did a Google Slides project today, but I know they said that they were excited to learn about the weather. And I bet they never said, we learned about conditional formatting, but I know they went home and said, we built a school from scratch. And everybody had a good time with that. And I bet, and I'll have one more quick video here, that when you look at these experiences, your kids want to do something like this as a homework example. I love that example. That was done in our broadcasting class. We asked them to tell their story, and they did. That was actually done during the hybrid days. So if the pandemic has taught us anything, it's taught us to take a step back, reevaluate what our classrooms look like, and it's taught us that there isn't one correct answer for how to teach hybrid, how to teach physical. And in fact, there are plenty of ways to get our students to turn their video cameras off and disengage. But we have to take our step back and get them to reconnect with others. And I urge you guys, as you go back into your classrooms, make sure that you're keeping your mind focused with what are the experiences that you're going to be giving your students. Work with your communities, work with your school leaders, work with your instructional coaches. How can we continue the momentum that we have going for us right now? In closing, I want to show off our adoption curve. Many of you guys have seen this. This is basically the bell curve of how technology is adopted. We know that the majority of people aren't tech savvy. About 2.5% are going to get it first. Then we have the early adopters, and usually it's right around this point in time here where you start to see the wave. And for many of our school districts, this is where we are, whether we've been in school all year or just coming back. It's our job to share what we're learning today and bring this in. I am so thrilled that you guys are here today, taking the time out of your Saturday, experiencing a conference like this, and sharing all this stuff with what you're doing. I am also proud of our school district. I see many people in the audience here from my school district, where many school districts in the country kind of went backwards with technology. Our school actually went forward. I'm so thrilled that this year we actually created a digital learning team made up of digital learning coaches. And every single day we are out there working with our teachers to help them create amazing experiences. So as we get to that fork in the road, you have the opportunity to say, which direction are you going to take? And in reality, I want to say thank you guys for being here. And I hope that you guys have a great conference. And Raquel, thank you so much for having me. And thank you for METECH for putting on a great 2021 conference. My name is Jeff Bradbury. And on behalf of everybody here at METECH, keep up the great work in your classrooms. And please continue sharing your passions with your students.